Hello everyone, welcome back to SwitchUp, and to that series where we revisit Switch 1 games that can now run at 60 frames per second on Switch 2.
Yep, we've got another 4 games to look at today. The games being Trials of Mana, Iron Fury, Bayonetta 3, and Grid Autosport, as Mark said, to just show you exactly how they can now run if you do have a Switch 2.
If you want to save yourself some money on your eShop credit, head over to switchup.gg where you get 5% in cash back. But other than that, how do they run? Well, let's find out. Let's begin then with a boomer shooter, as they call them, from, wow, it's quite a while now, isn't it? It was out a couple of years ago, maybe?
Yeah, it's good. I don't know, 4 years ago maybe?
It's crazy, isn't it? We're looking at a lot of these save files and they're like literally 5 years ago, aren't they?
Last played, and it's a good few years back. Time just shoots past, doesn't it?
It really does. This one came from 3D Realms, and it's very much like Duke Nukem. It still features things like gyroscopic controls, and it looks fine. You're not looking at this thinking, there's an issue there in terms of its visual quality. But when we run it on Switch 2, we can see a big improvement in the overall performance. In fact, it's borderline flawless, locked out at 60 almost all of the time.
I was saying to Mark before we came on to make the video that, in my opinion, first-person shooters are just one of those genres where you can instantly notice 60 frames per second. Some people struggle to see it. I think most people would see it 30 to 60 in an FPS.
Yeah, and I think when you combine that with gyro, it's like the perfect combo, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just so twitchy, isn't it? But in a good way, like you've just got that instant movement that you need to do well.
What was your favourite for first-person shooter?
As a kid, you had things like, funnily enough, I played a lot of the Atari Jaguar games because my cousin had one. Things like Aliens versus Predator.
Yeah.
Was it Wolfenstein 3D was on the Jaguar, I think. But then myself, when I had my own stuff, it was probably GoldenEye.
Yeah. Good shout. Which is funny because that ran at 19 FPS or something.
Yeah, little blocky people.
It really did. Yeah, brilliant. So that one, as we say, runs at 60 frames per second now. If you've not played it before, it's usually on sale as well, so you can find it at a decent price.
Right, next we've got Grid Autosport, which again released, I think it was 2019. So how many years ago is that? Six years ago. It's crazy how time flies. Within the game, it has a performance mode and a graphics mode. In graphics mode, you were looking at about 30 frames per second, whereas in performance mode, obviously, it was reaching for 60. Generally, you're looking at between 45 and 60 in terms of how that ran on the Switch 1.
Yeah, and Glen mentioned that actually when the Switch 2 first came out, I should say, this game didn't run at all, did it?
Yeah, they had to do an update for this to run on the Switch 2, or so I read anyway. Apparently, there was some sort of issue with startup. The game just wouldn't start on the Switch 2, so that has now been resolved.
Frame rates, you can see, Glen mentioned the quality mode. I was wondering whether the quality mode would run at 60, but it doesn't. It is very much locked to 30 FPS. But when you switch over to 60, it's just like butter, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And you can do that on the fly as well. It's probably the best way to do it if you want to see that difference. It really does become quite stark. And obviously there's a drop in the visual fidelity. That's the whole point. But to my eye, it was well worth having that better performance to just drop a bit of the more nuanced look to, shadows, things like that, perhaps some of the background items, but it kept what it needed to keep to still look like a very nice game.
Yeah, it's a really good point. There are some games that just benefit more, aren't there, from frame rate than others, and certainly racing games, you almost need it.
I think the 2 games we've looked at so far, first-person shooter and a racing game, they're prime example. Let's move on to Trials of Mana next then, which is another one that released a good few years back, I think around 2020, give or take, and a game that I finished on the Switch and thoroughly enjoyed. I know you got a fair way into it too.
Yeah, really good game actually. I enjoyed this. For me, it was the mental jump to the action RPG that I just enjoyed.
So looking back at its performance on the Switch, you were looking at just above 30 frames per second. It seemed to even out at around 33, 34 frames. This time round, you're looking at that nice big jump up to 60.
Yeah, back when it originally ran, it's funny watching your old videos because you see where there's gaps in your knowledge. And I'm talking about frame pacing being fine, but the game was running, like Glen says, about 33, 34 FPS with an uncapped frame rate to 60. So there's no way the frame pacing was fine. You can actually see a few drops in the original footage where it would almost pause momentarily. Now, as Glen says again, 60 FPS, it feels so silky like this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And bearing in mind, this is an action RPG, of course, you really do notice that boost of performance. Had it been turn-based, it maybe wouldn't have been such a big deal, but certainly having that 60 now makes what was already a good game just feel so much better.
Yeah, I agree fully. It's funny because we said before, certain games benefit more from it, but I think all games just feel better, don't they?
They do. They really do. Yeah, and this is worth playing, by the way, if you haven't played this one. I think it's another one that does go on sale quite often, and if you can find the physical these days, it's probably one that's starting to phase out a little bit, but if you can find it, it used to be available for a decent price.
I wonder why we haven't seen the next game in the series. You were saying it's on other platforms.
It's certainly on PlayStation. You mentioned it might be on Xbox as well. I forget the name of it now.
Visions of Mana?
It might be, yeah. That rings a bell. It's certainly one I'm interested in elsewhere on other consoles. Haven't enjoyed this one. But yeah, it is odd. It didn't come across. Maybe it will for Switch 2.
I know that it's sold really badly.
Right.
Like really badly, which is a shame. But I mean, maybe the game was naff.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But I think this one did quite well. I seem to remember this one doing well. So it's surprising / disappointing the next one didn't. But yeah, this one is worth playing for sure. And the final game then is Bayonetta 3, which when it released on the Switch, it could hit 60, and did hit 60 to be fair. It was one of those where it kind of dropped down to anywhere between 45 to 50 and then crept its way back up, maintained 60 for a while, then dropped again, that sort of thing. Cutscenes were at 30, which is fair enough. It did have some issues in terms of its visual fidelity. Aside from frame rate, there was some pop-in. It looked a bit blurry. Those things are not going to be fixed here because this is not a dedicated patch. This is just obviously a performance boost.
Yeah, I think this was one of the first games where we started to see people criticizing, first party games or games that are almost first party should be running 60 flawless, and people were starting to get a bit panicky about the Switch's brute force and then talking about what comes next.
Yeah, exactly that. And it does run now at 60 frames per second on the Switch 2. You can kind of see what they were aiming for on the Switch 1. Almost. And it would be nice, you said a minute ago, to get a dedicated patch for this one, because there's certainly a lot more that can be done to this. If you think of something like, was it the Pokemon games? Scarlet and Violet, wasn't it? Where they did a dedicated patch and you could just see the difference it made in terms of sprucing things up. This is definitely a game that would look so much better with a dedicated patch.
Yeah, too right. I think there are so many that I'm surprised we haven't seen anything for the Xenoblade series yet.
Yeah, they went a bit quiet, didn't they? You had the first few, that initial batch of patches. You had a couple more after that, I seem to remember. And there's been nothing since then, really, is there?
I mean, this latest one for Animal Crossing is the first big name, isn't it, to come up?
Yes, that's the first one in a while. But as you say, the Xenoblade series, this one, there's a few more that could definitely benefit with that patch that doesn't just fix the frame rate, because that seems to happen a lot of the time anyway, but just gives a boost to the actual graphics themselves,
Yeah, I would think that it would be like free money. You know what I mean? Like you put a little team onto just resolution, like you say, pop in, something else, maybe take a couple of days, or however long it takes. For me, that'll be free money. Stick it on a big sale.
Yeah, it would make perfect sense, really, wouldn't it? And even if you don't benefit financially out of it, just, I don't know if goodwill's the right word, but just a showcase of what your new console can do. Yeah. Look at this older game we've taken, look how much better it can look with not much more work. Look what we can do in the future, that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think we will see a few more patches for big names coming, maybe in the near future. Wouldn't say, because we might be under embargo, but
Exactly. Right, well, that's 4 games this time round. Do let us know what you think of these 4. Do you own them? Has you realised they could look that bit better on a Switch 2? Are they something you're now looking to pick up with this news in mind? Let us know in the comment section below.
Yeah, thank you to our Patreons and members, all of you that enjoy our content. You've already said save yourself some buns, haven't you?
We said that at the start, yeah, but it's always nice to remind people.
It really is, yeah. Save yourself 5% on your eShop credit over at switchup.gg. Also, if you want to go check out SwitchUp Extra, it's our new little extra channel where we have longer form content, really, and first takes on games.
Absolutely. Take care, and until next time, happy gaming.